This is the first injury timeline that we have gotten regarding Brandon Aiyuk after having surgery to repair his knee, which suffered ACL, MCL, meniscus damage. It was a big injury. So Adam Schefter went onto his podcast. He mentioned that the doctor who did the surgery had mentioned that he believes that Brandon Aiyuk is progressing pretty well, is doing a pretty good job, and is on track based on their particular situation. So Adam Schefter goes on to say that he does believe that the target for Brandon Aiyuk to return is mid-season. I'm going to share the clip with you, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the issues and how we're going to perceive this information on the other side. Take a listen right here.
Where are we at with a potential Brandon Aiyuk trade? I know he's coming off a very serious knee injury, so he might not be ready for week one, but where are we at with that whole situation?
Well, glad you asked that, Ty, because basically, for any speculation that's come up about Brandon Aiyuk potentially being traded this offseason, the fact of the matter is there is actually a deadline on a Brandon Aiyuk deal, and that is Tuesday, April 1st, because that is the day that Brandon Aiyuk has a $22.85 million roster bonus that is due. So if the 49ers don't find a trade partner for Brandon Aiyuk by Tuesday next week, it's hard to imagine any scenario under which they would wind up trading him during the season when they've already paid him close to $23 million. At that point in time, you hold on to him for the year. You wait for him to get healthy. You wait for him to come back and contribute on your roster this season and be the great wide receiver that he can be when he's healthy. Now, again, there has not been a whole lot of interest from teams because of the price and because of the injury concerns, because nobody wants to take on the contract when you don't know when the guy is going to be healthy again this season. But from what I understand, Dr. Neil Olatrash is pleased with his progress. He's coming along. I would think he's ready to play by mid-season. And there might be a team out there that is willing to basically not give up very much to get a great player who's coming off the injury. But the point is, if that trade doesn't materialize by Tuesday of next week, it's not happening at all, because the 49ers aren't going to pay a $23 million roster bonus and then wind up dealing him this summer before the trade deadline. Just not going to happen. So we officially are on the clock for a Brandon Aiyuk trade in the next week, which, again, hasn't happened yet. Don't know that it will happen. John Lynch floated the idea. Doesn't sound like it's likely, but if it's going to happen, the only time it would happen would be in the next week.
So this has been one of the things that I've been really wanting to see and kind of understand is where and when is Brandon Aiyuk in this rehab process, and when is he going to return? And it sounds like mid-season is the target. Now, obviously, it's been a challenging injury. They had to wait some time to be able to do the surgery to allow the swelling to decrease. And since then, it's tough, man. It's a tough situation. So obviously, the conversation also includes the trade situation, the deadline that's coming up on April 1st, and all of that stuff. It's starting to sound like, from every reporter and the people who are in the know of this situation, they don't expect Brandon Aiyuk to be traded for the reason that he may not be able to return until mid-season. So how does this impact the San Francisco 49ers? What do they do if BA can't return until, let's say, week 8? Let's say that's how long it will take him to return to form. And also, it's important to keep in mind that there is also a ramp up period to get him on the field. He might be cleared and he might be fully healthy, but you got to build his leg strength back up. You have to build that conditioning. So there's going to be a path to getting cleared, and then there's a path to getting into football shape. Then I think you would put him out there after that point. So again, me saying week 8, I'm just, speculating at this point. But I do think that opens up the door for the San Francisco 49ers to potentially draft another wide receiver. Now, when you look at their current wide receiver room, you have Juwan Jennings, who had a phenomenal season last year, Ricky Pearsall, who really took a big leap And also, it was great to hear on a podcast Brock Purdy did. He talked about how he loved Ricky Pearsall and how I do believe that their relationship and the way that they'll work together will translate into them having a lot of success next season. So that's cool. The 49ers signed Demarcus Robinson from the Rams. He's pretty solid. Like, he's a legitimate wide receiver who could definitely take on, anywhere to 40 to 50 receptions a year and do some good work with them. You have Jacob Cowing heading into year 2. He's got a lot of speed and a lot of talent. Just obviously wasn't utilized all that much as a rookie. And then you have some other guys that are currently on the roster. Isaiah Hodgins is a guy I continue to talk about that I'm really excited to see how he fits. I think he has upside, and I do believe he has potential. Tariq Owens as well as a young undrafted free agent. Russell Gage and Trent Taylor. So they have a pretty decent wide receiver room, all things considered, with the Brandon Aiyuk injury. But I do believe that would lend themselves to believe that, they might draft a wide receiver as well. Maybe not super early, but maybe in the 3rd or 4th round, it'd be a good idea to take a shot on one of those guys. Because Juwan Jennings, it's sounding like he could see a contract extension because he's heading into the last year of his deal, which is typically the cadence for getting a deal done. So when you look at the overall wide receiver room, if you're getting Brandon Aiyuk back mid-season, it might be a nice jolt. Like, obviously the 49ers are going to have to go through training camp, go through the offseason program, going through preseason and the regular season without Brandon Aiyuk. So they're probably going to be in the process of, like, this is just how we have to go throughout business. Like, we're just going to go with the guys that we have and we're going to go play and we're going to go execute. But then it would be almost like you made a mid-season trade or something like that. Like, you just all of a sudden, like, all things considered, assuming Brandon Aiyuk is healthy, it's like you're plopping an all-pro wide receiver into your room mid-season. So if the San Francisco 49ers are humming along early on and they are able to win games and they're in a plus position in the record, and then you're adding Brandon Aiyuk post, in the middle of the season, that could be a big jolt, especially if Brandon Ayuk's ready to go and he's ready to play. I know there's a lot of hesitation. I know a lot of fans are going to be like, I don't know about that. But again, if things are progressing well, there's the assumption that he can return from this injury. And if he can return and he can be an impact after guys like Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, and everyone else that I mentioned gets opportunity to continue to grow and develop, then I think it would be a good situation where you realize the offense doesn't have to rely on Brandon Aiyuk, but when he comes in, he could definitely help supplement the offense and take it to new heights. So that is my optimistic look at it. We'll see how it plays out. I am curious to know what you guys think of this. I half expect most of the comments to be yelling at me because I'm yet again sharing information about the latest information on Brandon Aiyuk, but I just hope you know that I'm doing this because to me it is pertinent, and I do believe that it is important information, and it's something that we haven't heard throughout this entire process, and something I've personally been looking for. So to me, I think this is important information. You can agree, you can disagree in the comments below. But let me know what you think, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.